Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 relationship tips for beginners. Okay, now before we get into this, please keep in mind, remember just one thing. Remember that dating is a chore. It is work. I have never met anyone that says, I love dating. I wish I could date more. Maybe you see that in movies, maybe that was a thing in books, but in reality, no one likes dating. It's hard. It's no fun. Now, I recommend you get out a piece of paper, a journal, whatever, take notes. That's what I did when I was learning about all this, and I loved looking back on the notes. It helped out quite a bit. So here we go. Tip number 1. Choose carefully. In fact, underline that, put a little box around it, put an asterisk around it, and in fact say, choose ultra, super, very carefully, because there's no better thing you could do in a brand new relationship than make sure you've chosen the right partner to be with. Now, that may sound hard, it may sound tough, and it may sound difficult, but it's not. It's a very simple process for how to choose your partner, and I'll go into that briefly here. But I do have other videos that talk about nothing but learning how to choose a partner. Because here in this phase, we're building the foundation. We're starting from the ground up. And if you can choose the right person to be with, it makes things so much smoother down the road. So how do you choose? How do you choose the right partner? What you do is you make a list. You make a list of everything that you must have in a partner or that can't be present. So for example, if you absolutely love to go skiing and you want a partner that's going to ski with you, you have to have that. Write that down on your list. Skiing, must like skiing. Personally, one of my favorites that I wrote down on my list when I was going through this process was communication. My partner had to have good communication skills. That was a deal breaker. If they couldn't tell me how they were feeling and talk openly and chat, then no, thank you. I was ready to move on. Now, with this list, I recommend you have at least 3 items, preferably 5. That's the lower limit. Upper limit, there is no real upper limit. You can have 10, 20, 30. It just, the more you have on there, the more it means that you know exactly what you're looking for. You're being very discerning and you're funneling down the potential partner candidates to a very known quantity, which is great. That's fantastic. When I went through this process, I had 11 things on my list. Then you take your list, and when you go through, let's say you're still in the dating process, when you go out on a date, you work your way through your list. You talk, you get to know the person that's sitting across the table from you or beside you on that park bench. And you chat and you start to learn more about them. And as these topics come up, which they will, you find out if they check the box, which is great. Let's say one of the most important things you have is they must love dogs. You love dogs too. And they must be family oriented. Let's say you guys want to start a family someday. Well, if that's something that's important to you and it's on your list, chat about it with them. Like, hey, how do you feel about family someday? You'll know when the time is right. That's a big question. It's good to get that out up front so you know what page you guys are on. And if it's something that checks the box, move on. Congratulations. That partner has passed that first test, that first hurdle. If it's something that they miss, let's say, for example, you don't want anyone who believes a certain political view. You just cannot stand it, and you don't want the strife and discomfort from talking politics. All right. If you find out that person does have that political view, just, hey, tell them, my political views are very important. This is what they are. Would you ever consider changing? And if they say, absolutely not, I'm a steadfast blue, red, whatever, independent, green, whatever their party is, and they won't change. Well, if that's on your list of deal breakers, okay, the deal is broken. Thank you. I've had a nice time, but let's move on. I don't think we're right for each other. And it doesn't matter exactly what's on the list as long as what's on the list is important to you. Because put it another way, you're out here screening candidates that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Get the most qualified, best potential candidate that you can. And as you go through this process of working your way down the list, that's the choosing process. It's not like something you have to think about, like, is this person right or is this person not right? You just simply make a list and check off boxes. It's that easy. Now, let's say you've never been in a relationship before, or you've never taken this approach before, and that's fine, but you don't know exactly what's important to you. I sure didn't the first time I got into a long-term relationship, I'll tell you that. I do have a list of 6 attributes, 6 characteristics that if your partner possesses even a majority of these, say 3 or 4 out of 6, that's a very good start. And I recommend using these as placeholders until you develop your own set of likes and dislikes. And if your partner has all of these, you know what? That's going to be pretty solid footing. Item number 1 for the list of things to look for in a partner, agreeableness. I bet you didn't expect that, did you? Well, it turns out that research shows there's a direct correlation between how agreeable someone is and the amount of sex and happiness in a marriage. In other words, if someone is more agreeable, you guys are going to be more sexually active and you both are going to be a lot happier. That sounds like a win-win. The second thing is you want to look for someone you can have a friendship with. In other words, you've heard of the old, put them in a friend zone. Well, that's the zone you want to pick from. You want to spend the rest of your life with your best friend. Who else would you want to wake up to next every day? You'd want to wake up to someone you didn't like that much, or you thought was like, oh boy, they're okay, but I can't wait for them to go to work today? No, you want to wake up to that person who you have a really strong friendship with. That's extremely important. So as you go along through the dating process or you're developing your relationship with this person, if you feel yourself developing not only a romantic attachment, but a friendship bond, that's a huge plus. That's a really big plus right there. So write that down, make a note of it in your secret journal. If they're friends, that's good. So number 3, honesty. You want to be with someone who's honest. You want to know that that person does right by you, by themselves, and by the world in general. They tell the truth. They are not deceitful. They are generally good people. And why? The reason why you want someone that's honest is because honesty is a core component for developing trust in the relationship. Trust is essential for intimacy, not just sexual intimacy, but emotional intimacy as well. You're not going to open up to someone and tell them your deepest, most secret thoughts and ideas unless you trust them. And you can't trust them unless you know they're honest. So right from the beginning, if you're with someone that's honest, that's another huge plus right there, another check. Yes, proceed. You're choosing well. That person is so far so good. Everything's looking great. So look for someone that's honest. Number 4, and this one should be somewhat obvious on the face of it, but you should be with someone that's sexually compatible with you. Okay? Now, by this, I mean, let's break this down into 2 parts. You want to be with someone that you think is hot. All right? Someone that you just look at and you go, yes, please. That just does it for you. Now, I don't mean someone that's classically hot, where you think of the chiseled abs or the dashing features or the chiseled elfin look, whatever, all the stuff that Hollywood makes you think is attractive. But you want to be with someone where you look at them and you know that you want them. Okay. And now, as a pro tip, and this is just kind of a little bit of insider information, the best position to be in is one where you think your partner's hot, but maybe the rest of society doesn't. In other words, you see something about that person you're with that you just, it is wonderful. But perhaps for whatever reason, society may just, look at your partner and not see that. Now, the reason for that is because this is going to keep you attracted to that person, but also it's just going to make life easier down the road when you will, and this will happen someday, you'll notice people checking your partner out. People are very visual. They are very superficial sometimes. And yeah, you know what? If you're with a classically hot person, that's going to cause a few bumps down the road. They're not insurmountable. They're not huge problems, but it's just a little bit of discomfort that you don't have to be with. So if you're with someone that only you think is hot, that's a win. That's a definite win. And the second part of this is frequency. It really is. If you want to get with your partner and have sex once a day, but they're only interested once every other week, you know what? That's an issue, but it doesn't mean you can't be compatible. You can still have sexual compatibility if your libidos are completely different. It's just going to take a little bit of talking and a little bit of working out to find the right compromise. There's ways that your partner, could help lend a hand or another body part until you sort of meet in the middle and both of your needs are satisfied. That's fine. That happens in a lot of relationships. It's completely normal. In fact, I'd be very surprised if people were on the exact same sexual frequency schedule for their entire relationships. I've never heard of that happening. Number 5, you want to be with someone that is going to support and reassure you. They have that desire to build you up, to be there when you need them. They've got your back. And that desire, that feeling, that need to support and reassure you is going to help during the rough times. Because you know what? At some point, life is just going to pull out a baseball bat and it's going to try its hardest to kneecap you. It's not going to be easy. And when that happens, It's so wonderful and relieving to know that you're with someone that's got your back and you guys can work through this together. So look for someone that's supportive, someone that doesn't try to, cut you down or, put you in a box or anything like that. But you really look for someone who's going to build you up and try to make you a better person. That's another huge check in the why yes please box. Then number 6, you want to be with someone who's a good communicator. In fact, when I was dating, on this list I'm not talking about, my number one thing was good communication. I knew that I had to be with someone that knows how to express themselves, talk through things, and could listen to me explain how I felt. Communication goes both ways. The reason for this is communication will take you 90% of the way through fixing a problem or making you guys happy in the long run. It's the cure-all. There aren't supposed to be any cure-alls in medicine. If you hear a cure-all in medicine, it usually cures nothing. Well, the cure-all in a relationship is communication. It's going to do so much for you guys down the road. So if you're with a good communicator, that's going to go so far. Now, what does this look like when you're dating? Look for someone that can tell you how they feel or express what they want in a way that's constructive, doesn't bring you down, doesn't degrade you, and they're always striving to build you up and build up the relationship. So look for someone who's positive when they talk. Someone that doesn't say, I don't want to go to the movies tonight, that's going to be no fun. Look for someone that says, hey, you know what? Instead of the movies, I'd love to go to dinner with you. Can we do that instead? I'd love to spend time with you just sitting here on the couch and just chatting for a while. That sounds great. Now that leads directly into the second tip. Communication is so important that's my number 2 tip for relationship beginners is work on communication from day one. As soon as you're on your first date, or if you're in your relationship for a month or 2, always be trying to improve the communication between you two. You do that by asking questions. If you don't know what someone means, you ask them, hey, what did you mean by that? Or, I'm not sure what you're thinking about this. What do you think? And then vice versa, you express yourself. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking about this, and this is how this makes me feel, and here's what I think about that particular topic. You're constantly working on communication, but it also goes deeper, and I'm going to have so many videos about communication because it's such an important topic, but you will have to also work on learning the style of your partner's communication. It's not just words. In fact, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've always heard about 85% of communication is nonverbal. Well, yes, but nonverbal communication takes many different forms. We'll talk about that later. Don't panic, breathe. But working on communication and the different styles of communication, even from the first day, is a huge benefit to you guys in the long run. Over time, you'll also be able to learn to read your partner, just observe them and kind of know how they're feeling and what they're thinking. We all believe and we want our partners to be mind readers. We all want to think, how can they do or say that when it makes me feel so sad, angry, whatever? When in fact, in a committed relationship, in a good relationship, someone will very rarely intentionally set out to hurt you. It's always a miscommunication when something comes across negatively, or they simply don't realize what they're doing. They have no clue. Unless you can communicate, those are going to build up to be problems over time. Number 3, my third tip for beginners in relationships is to be yourself at all times. There's a very strong tendency to put on this mask, this fake us, of showing our partner what we think they want to see in order to attract them. Those masks never last, and I'll give you the time frame for when they start to come down because they're so common and so predictable. They always follow the same trajectory. People will try so hard to be something they're not. That will last for 3 to 6 months, and then right at about the 3 or 6 month mark, those masks will drop and the true person will start to show through. Because it takes energy to try to do something or be someone that you're not. It really does, and it's tiring, it's wearing, it's going to wear you out if you do that. And it's not going to give your partner a fair chance to evaluate you, and if they do that, it's not going to give you a fair chance to evaluate them. So don't worry about putting on a mask. If your partner, and by mask I mean, let's say that you think your partner loves hiking. Oh, you know what? You're going to try to love that too. You're going to want to go on hikes. Every time they ask you to go on a hike, you're going to say yes. You're going to go out buy a pair of hiking shoes, maybe some of those poles to help protect your knees. But after about 6 months, if you really don't like hiking, it's going to be a drag. You're going to find excuses to avoid your partner and say no to the hiking experiences, and that's going to cause problems. Instead, from the very beginning, if you don't like something, tell them. If you do like something, express that. Because this whole dating, the whole idea behind dating isn't, I have to be with that person No, it's you have to be with the right person. You've always heard about the one, the your soulmate, your twin flame, whatever you want to call them. Well, that's a myth. That's a myth perpetuated by Hollywood and by society, and it makes a lot of people feel really bad because they feel like they haven't found their one. The truth is, there are many ones out there that are right for you. You just have to find it. You have to go out and you have to do the work of looking for your right person. And it could be the next person that you go out on a date with. It could be the 50th person you go out on a date with, the 200th, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people out there that you're going to do really well with, and you just have to find one of them, just one, to spend the rest of your life with. And it's not really that hard. It takes time, but it's not hard. Okay, the fourth tip, and this will apply after you guys have been together for a few months or maybe even a year. Be ready for the cooling off period, because this can take a lot of people by surprise, make them insecure, make them feel like their partner's losing interest in them, when in fact, usually it's the opposite. And by this, what I mean is at the very first part of a relationship, whoa, you guys are controlled by a flood of hormones that's causing feelings of affection, feelings of lust, feelings of love. It's that rainbow of a new relationship, and it's fantastic, and it's normal, and it happens to everyone, don't get me wrong. But those heightened feelings don't last forever. After a while, they start to crest, and the desire to be with that person every day will start to diminish. And the electricity you feel every time they text or call is going to get less and less. What's happening is you guys are transitioning from the very first blushes of a hot, intense relationship to the step of a long-term relationship. You're beginning to work on the rest of your lives together. And what that looks like is that takes the form of friendship, a more calm existence to each other, less of an overwhelming desire to be together all the time. And that's normal. That doesn't mean that your partner cares about you any less or you're losing that feeling of attraction for your partner. It just simply means your relationship is maturing. It may look like it's slowing down. It may look like it's losing some intensity when in fact, yes, it is, but for the best. You don't want to be in that heightened state of initial lust for your entire life. You know what? That's fun for maybe up to a year, but after that, it's exhausting, and it blinds you from other things in life that you can focus on. And it's really it's such a powerful, captivating feeling. It's not going to let you think about other things. So it's good when that phase ends, because after that phase ends is when you can start building your futures together. So don't worry about it if things feel like they're cooling off after a few months. It's normal. That's a good sign. It really is. All right, my fifth tip for beginners in relationships. At all times, to everyone, be a good human. And this is going to transcend into so many positive benefits for your relationship. If you're a good human, well, let me back up a little bit. It's really sexy for someone to be with someone that they know is a good person. It's a huge turn on if you're with someone that you can say to your friends, that's a good person. I really like that person. They are good inside. So if you are that good person, it's going to be a turn on for your partner. They're really going to love it. Now, how do you be a good person? Again, this is easier done than said. It really is. It's backwards. See, so it's easier to be a good person than what it sounds like. Now, you be a good person by living up to your own moral code consistently. You have something inside of you that tells you what's right and wrong. You listen to that, and you base your choices and your decisions, and you make judgments based on what you think is the correct thing to do in every situation, and you don't deviate from it. Also, you are able to articulate your reasons for things and the reasons for your choices to your partner. You're able to explain your moral code. As an example, let's say your moral code tells you that the right thing to do is to help someone out when you see them in need. Well, you do that. Let's say you and your partner are out walking along the sidewalk and you see someone fall down across the street. If you believe it's the right thing to do, to go across the street, to ask them if they need help, maybe call an ambulance or just help them get back on their feet, you do that. You just go over and you take care of that person. And then if you feel the need to, you explain to your partner, hey, look, when I see someone that is in distress, it's part of me to go help them. And that's what I'm going to do. That's a turn on. It really is. When your partner knows that you're doing what you think is right, wow, It goes a long way to building a strong base for your relationship. It does. Additionally, if you are always doing what you think is right, then that builds consistency and, again, trust in that relationship. We all love to know within a certain framework how our partner is going to operate, how they're going to react, what they're going to do. And if you're over and over and over again doing the same sort of things, that's going to give your partner a little bit of comfort and security in the relationship. They're going to get to know you. Oh, I know how my partner is going to react like this. I know what kind of person my partner is. We don't want chaos. We don't want unpredictableness when it comes to a partner. We don't want to wake up every day and go, now what's going to happen? That's stressful and scary. No one wants that. Just be consistent. Repeatedly stick to the same things, stick to the same principles, continue to do what you think is right over and over again. And that's all you have to do with this phase. Just be a good human. If you're not sure what to do in the right phase, ask yourself this exact question. What would a good human do in this situation? And that's it. That's all you have to do. All right, guys, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I read through the comments and respond to any questions that you guys have. Also, please hit the subscribe buttons so you can see the next video when it comes out. And thanks again for being here. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.